The Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS season, has entered its final fortnight with just one traditional 90-minute race and the season-ending Indianapolis 8-hour left on the docket. Yesterday, here at Sebring, K-Pax Racing returned to its early season form as Andrea Caldarelli and Michele Beretta took a dominant overall win, but the Pro-Am battle raged on with the top three teams in points all finishing on the podium. Hello and welcome to round 12 of the campaign. My name is Ryan Marine, joined today by Calvin Fish and Amanda Busick here at the famed Sebring International Raceway. The 17-turn, 3.74-mile venue is a classic, and to get a first-hand view of the track, let's ride on board with Ashton Harrison with our track preview.
This is Ashton Harrison, driver of the number 93 Harrison Contracting Racer's Edge Acura NSX GT3 Evo 22, and I'm going to take you for a lap around Sebring International Raceway. As we approach the front stretch of the infamous Sebring International Raceway, we're preparing for one of the fastest corners, which is turn 1. Super late brakes as we approach, so come up on it. Super late brakes, turning in. We want to have our eyes up, start rolling on the throttle pretty aggressively as we start experiencing most of the bumps around this track. Coming into turn 3, it's another late braking zone. Really want to get the car squared up for this corner as we turn in, start rolling onto power, setting up for, which is a pretty slippery corner, turn 5, so patience on throttle and rolling back onto big power as we head towards turn 7. This is about the time where we could possibly check in with the crew if we need to, or prepare ourselves for battle. Coming into the hairpin, we're braking pretty late, big braking zone. Really want to get the car slowed down so we can get a really good exit out of here. Big power on the exit, but do want to be patient as there is sand on the outside, and that could get crazy pretty quickly if you were to drop a wheel. So coming into the back half of the track, coming into turn 10, another late braking zone, really heavy on the brakes, getting the car squared up on the exit and gradually applying throttle as we come to a pretty quick switch back. On these GT3 cars, it is flat and super fun. So coming into turn 13, another late braking zone. Eyes up as we gradually roll into power, and again, experiencing a lot of the bumps around this track can upset the car, so we want to make sure that we're placed in the proper position to be able to apply throttle. Fast Bishop's Bend, flat on the throttle on these GT3 cars, late braking, really want to get the car turned in for 15. Patience on throttle as we get a little bit of understeer. Coming into turn 16, this sets up for the long back straightaway. This is about the point where we really want to focus on nailing turn 17, as it is probably one of the most important corners into this track as we head onto the front stretch. So coming into turn 17, getting late into the brakes. Yep, heavy brake, eyes up, get prepared for the bumps, making sure we're in the right placement as we start applying throttle. And we go all the way out to the end of the wall. And we're back into the front stretch onto Sebring International Raceway.
Great view of the racetrack, courtesy of Ashton Harrison. Big day for Ashton and her co-driver Mario Farnbacher yesterday. This Racer's Edge team in pursuit of the Pro-Am Class Championship. Speaking of yesterday, let's look back on what was a fantastic race. Race 1 of the weekend. Early drama here, Calvin. Back in the pack, Racer's Edge and Bimmerworld coming together.
Yeah, green flag flew there. Chandler Hull was going for it. Envergel basically did a cut and paste of his move around David Askew. There was contact. Both cars were out for the day.
Sorry, that was real time, and Bimmerworld coming together. Good battles, though, throughout the pack here as they stayed green at least through the first half of the lap or so. Some aggressive moves around the outside, a little bit further back, but up front, K-Pax Racing took early control. Then a restart, and this huge move here by Ashton Harrison. This really set up the rest of their race.
It really did. Gave them the track position in Pro-Am, and they would take it to victory, their third in a row.
And they needed that, too, to put themselves in prime position with just this one race and the Indy 8-hour yet to go. Big moment here, late in the first stint. Around goes Charlie Luck. That took Wright Motorsports out of position to challenge at the very front.
It really did, but there was some inter-class battling as well. Triazzi had a great race going. Had to give it up a little bit, and finally Farnbacher was through with Colin Brown right on his tail.
And Colin took full advantage, spent a number of laps absolutely hounding Mario Farnbacher, but it wasn't to be. K-Pax Racing, though, reclaiming that form from early in the season. Caldarelli and Beretta picking up the race win, their first in the last 4 races. Meanwhile, Farnbacher brought it home and was able to secure the Pro-Am win, and with it, it rearranged the Pro-Am points going into the final 2 races. Exciting stuff yesterday, and more of that in store today with a totally mixed up grid based on qualifying that happened yesterday. The pros in the Pro-Am cars, they qualified for this second race. They will start race number 2 of the weekend, and it's a fascinating front row in a lot of respects. We'll talk more about it throughout the course of the show. But with Conquest Racing joining this championship just prior to this weekend, brand new team, brand new duo of Alessandro Balzan, who's on the overall pole, alongside GT3 debutant Manny Franco. They really impressed. Good, strong run yesterday, starting, as mentioned, from the overall pole here for race 2 today. Promoted to the pro class as well. That should make things fascinating as we get ready to go to Green Flag Racing. Setting up for the second of 2 races here this weekend, and time to welcome in the third member of the broadcast crew. Standing by in the pit lane is Amanda Busick.
And the pole sitter just left here. Engines are fired, so we are just moments away from the second to last race here in the Fanatec GT Series. As you mentioned, Ryan, the last race of the season will be at the Indy 8-hour. 1 race, 3 hours to the end. But I want to go back to that pole sitter. I talked to Alessandro Balzan right before this race and asked if they have a shot here at picking up a win in their inaugural weekend out here in the series. And he said it's going to be hard. There is tough competition all around them, but said if there is a shot, I did it by qualifying number 1 for this team. And I want to go back to that points battle that you've been talking about in Pro-Am, and no one did a better job for themselves than the Racers Edge team yesterday, getting another win yet again on the season. Ashton, we took a look at your track preview right before kicking off this race, and it just the joy that comes out of you talking about a race here at Sebring. When you approach that in the race, knowing that points battles are all around you, how do you just relax and have fun as a driver?
Definitely wouldn't say that we're relaxed. I think it's important as an athlete and as a driver to stay calm and make sure that your mental state is in the right spot, because Sebring's very demanding, so we want to make sure that we keep in mind that we need the points to secure the championship going into Indy, but also bring the car back home in one piece. And so, Indy's a tight turnaround. We only have 2 weeks, and that's what's on our mind right now. But I do believe in Mario, as always, we try our best, and we have a game plan, and I'm hoping that we put that to work today, and we bring home another win for Racers Edge and Honda and Harrison Contracting.
Well, they got the job done yesterday, that's for sure, but the task begins anew here at Sebring, closing in on the start of the final 90-minute race of the season, with just the Indianapolis 8 hours looming in 2 weeks' time. Cars on track for the first of 2 formation laps. We'll be turning them loose here at Sebring in just a moment. Cars making their way out onto the track behind the Acura safety car. French Pirelli P0s hot out of the tire ovens, slapped onto these race cars, but Calvin Fish, temperature in these tires, that shouldn't be too hard. It's a hot weekend here in Florida.
It is. It's cooled down a little bit. We had some extreme temperatures here on Friday for the practice sessions that the drivers were having to try and make their way through. Couldn't really find anyone in the paddock when we were roaming around trying to have a chat with people. Everyone was hiding in the air conditioning. But the big threat this afternoon, there is rain in the area. So looking at those clouds, I think everyone's going to have those wet Pirelli tires ready just in case.
Several onboard shots for us, including here with the Triarci Competizione team, Ryan Dial, who only missed the overall pole by 21 thousandths of a second. It was a great qualifying performance for the Scotsman, who now calls Florida home. He'll start alongside the fellow Ferrari driver, Alessandro Balzan, on the front row. On board here as well with Jan Halen, who gave this Wright Motorsports Porsche a great ride yesterday. Big-time charge through the field after Charlie Luck's spin in the opening stint. If they had another 5 or 10 minutes, they might have been able to challenge for the class win.
Oh, he was right there. He tried to make a move in the final a couple of corners there, coming through 15 and 16 on Colin Brown there on that final lap. So he was on the charge. There's some pace in this Porsche, but he starts from row 3 in position 7 overall.
Yeah, back a little ways further than they would hope. That's a look at the Porsche as it comes through we are down two cars from yesterday. You saw in the highlights the incident at the very start. Chandler Hull in the Bimmer World BMW and the Acura from Real-Time Racing, Aaron Vogel, making contact. The damage for the Real-Time car slightly too extreme, and they were unable to make repairs here on site, and their focus now is on preparing for the Indianapolis 8-hour. Meanwhile, it was a previous commitment for the Turner Motorsport duo. Michael Dinan with some family commitments. He was unable to be here today, so we're down the Turner car as well. And therefore, we're down to just 13 cars to take the grid for race 2 of the weekend.
Yeah, and that's a shame with Robbie Foley and Michael Dinan finishing second here yesterday. BMW does have pace, but this is a big deal right now. We're talking about championship implications here. Mario Farnbacher ready to go. There's an issue on the front end of this race car.
Wow. Now keep in mind, these cars have not been on track since the race yesterday. There was no warm-up, no practice session, so he must have felt something awry on the outlap, and now that team has to go to work. They were set to roll off from 6th on the grid, but instead, it looks like it will be a delayed start at the best for Racer's Edge. They will go to work and hope to get the championship aspirants Mario Farnbacher and Ashton Harrison out and ready for the race. Closing in on the start of the race, and high drama already. Calvin, you can see hands on the head of Ashton Harrison because her Acura NSX GT3 Evo, that car that won the Pro-Am class yesterday, in the pits with some kind of mechanical dramas on the formation laps.
Gotta feel it's braking. They look like they're going to bleed the front brakes here. How long will that take? Can they be at pit out as we start the race here in just under half a lap here as these cars go around on this second formation lap of 2.
A look at the starting grid. 13 cars set to take the green flag, we hope, if that includes the Racer's Edge car. On the pole, Alessandro Balzan for Conquest Racing in their debut in this championship. Ryan Dial will start on the outside of the front row. The Pro-Am pole sitter missed the overall pole by 21 thousandths of a second. It's all K-Pax Racing in row 2. Andrea Caldarelli and Jordan Pepper. Brian Sellers and Mario Farnbacher were set to start in row 3. Farnbacher, as you can see, still in the pits. Then you go back to row 4. Jan Hayward and Corey Lewis rolling off side by side. A couple of drivers that have had success in the Sebring 12 hours in the past. Colin Brown and Dirk Muller in row number 5. Row 6 is set to be Onofrio Triarci, the reigning AM class champion, or the champion-elect, I should say, alongside Drew Stavely from Ian Lacey Racing. And at the back of the pack, Bill Oberlin from Bimmer World. That car and team have had their setbacks this weekend. Mechanical issues in the crash at the start of race 1 yesterday, but all indications are they are good to go. Not so good to go, the Racer's Edge team, possibly brake fluid coming out of the right rear.
Yeah, it looks like they got the rear brakes now, trying to get some brake pedal pressure. I would think that Mario felt something amiss when he jumped in the race car here for these formation laps.
Absolutely a massive development for the car that claimed the points lead yesterday with their win. If they can get it fixed, though, there is still time to recover. We'll keep tabs on their recovery efforts as we go. But for now, the field in the VP acceleration zone, and the green flag flies. Alessandro Balzan will grab the lead from pole position. The fight is on. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Ryan Dial swings out wide. He's going to challenge around the outside, looking for the race lead.
Wow, very close there between the 2 K-Pax Lamborghinis there. The black car of Caldarelli that won here yesterday, and his teammate Jordan Pepper. Pepper looks to the outside down into Christensen corner.
And Pepper has taken 3rd spot away from his teammate Caldarelli. He needs to do that if he's going to have a shot at the title coming to Indianapolis. That pro points battle almost done and dusted, and it would be effectively if Caldarelli could finish ahead. This is good news, at least provisionally, as Farnbacher is out on the racetrack right now, but we'll see if that braking problem has been resolved. Side by side, the 2 teammates leaning on one another through the hairpin.
These are 2 teammates that won the opening rounds of this championship season. Then they were split with the new regulations. They won the championship together last year, but meanwhile, the 2 Ferraris up front are escaping a little bit as they jostle with each other.
Ferrari has shown great pace here all weekend long. Conquest and Triarci at the overall lead. Meanwhile, Corey Lewis going side by side with Colin Brown, who started way back in 9th. That's the second place car from the Pro-Am class yesterday. He's making some progress here in the early going.
As has Bill Auberlen. Look at him cutting his way through the field. He was the fastest man here in practice on Friday. They thought they had a shot at pole yesterday until they had their electrical drama in the qualifying sessions.
On board with the winningest BMW driver in history, Bill Auberlen, up 3 spots here already on the opening lap, putting some pressure on Corey Lewis in the TR3 Lamborghini.
All of these top pros, they're top draw talent for sure here in this championship. Colin Brown now again a little bit defensive there as they run down the Ullman straightaway. He takes that right-hand lane.
Didn't have the best run through Le Mans. That leaves him vulnerable, and Corey Lewis would love to go on the attack here. At the moment, unable to do so. Settles back in line. Bill Auberlen smells blood. Looking strong in that BMW M4 GT3. And suddenly, Corey Lewis could be playing defense here because here comes Bill Auberlen.
Yeah, this BMW's been fast here this weekend. Doesn't want to give Corey too much room to push him out wide. Kind of makes him take that shallow angle of attack. Can Bill do the cutback here as they exit turn 1? Not close enough.
Auberlen up 4 spots on that first lap. Brown up 2, Farnbacher back in pit lane. The problem's evidently not rectified.
Disaster for that group. They've got to somehow get out there and at least score some points here today. Get to the 70% mark. That will be their target right now, I feel. Caldarelli looks, peeks to the inside down in the turn 7 brake zone. That one car was quicker than this green number 3 here yesterday. Finally found their sweet spot after a bit of a drought. Hadn't seen victory lane for them in 4 races. That seemed like an eternity for that group.
I know, for anyone else, 4 races, given some of the results they've had in between, it's still a pretty good run, but they've come to expect a huge amount of success. 6 straight wins for Caldarelli to get the season started before going on that drought.
Balzan looking strong here. Just rolled off the trailer very quick this weekend. They tested here at Sebring. What a debut for Conquest Racing. There is a regulation in place, Ryan, when a team joins the championship late in the year, they're not eligible for championship points. So they will not be taking the points away from those pro-class leaders.
Yeah, that's right. In the final 2 race weekends of the season, they are invisible from a points perspective. Problem still on the right rear for the Racer's Edge car. About to go a lap down. Heartbreaking for the Florida-based team.
Really is, because they'll be 9th in class. They'll still score some points, but they have to do 70%. But what a disaster having taken over the championship lead here yesterday. They had an 8-point lead coming in over Jan Halen and Charlie Luck, and a further point ahead of George Kurtz and Colin Brown.
How about Alessandro Balzan and his Conquest Racing team, their first start in the championship, and Balzan a 3-time GT champion in North America. Out in front, Auberlen though doesn't need a second invitation. He saw a gap and he went for it.
Tucks it to the inside, but Corey's just rolling big speed around the outside. He's still got the grip in the tires to do that. Having said that, tire degradation here at Sebring has been minimal. We saw really fast laps here yesterday, deep into the stints. Auberlen's got pace, he's just got to figure out a way with this puzzle in front of him. Corey Lewis, another former Sebring winner here at the 12-hour, won in fact with Brian Sellers when they were teamed together back in 2018. Bill the Legend, he's won this race, the 12-hour, 3 times, but all of those back in the 90s.
Bill heaping the pressure on Corey Lewis. TR3 Racing for Corey and Jeff Burton starting in the last round at Road America after starting the season with Zalus. On board with Bill as he stalks his prey.
I think he's got more pace, just got to be patient. You know Chandler Howell will be up for the task when he jumps on board. He's been really strong compared to the other AM drivers in these Pro-Am lineups in the second stints throughout the course of this season. 7 podium finishes came into this weekend, just over 20 points back, but a disaster yesterday by scoring 0. It's really taken them out of championship contention.
Despite being podium machines for the bulk of the season, Bimmerworld still has not cracked the top step of the podium. Could this be the day? If it's going to be, they're going to need to go on a big-time charge here. And again, Bill Auberlen with a great run down the Ullman straight, closes in on the tail end of Corey Lewis, drifting to the inside, pulls up alongside. Lewis was able to make the outside lane work through turn 1. Can he make it work in Sunset? Doesn't look like it. Bill Oberlin up a spot. Lewis trying to fight back to the inside.
Looks for the crossover there, exiting turn 17, but now Bill's going to have the inside lane as they head down this front stretch into turn 1. He's got to make this stick. Corey trying to lean on him a little bit. Oberlin has the inside line. Corey tries to roll speed around the outside. They're still duking it out here as they exit turn 1, and he makes the move. Great job by Corey Lewis.
Fantastic from the Nazareth, Pennsylvania native, Corey Lewis, who's become a big part of Lamborghini's driver roster in North America in recent years. Oh, big twitch up ahead. Did you see that? That was Colin Brown in the Riley Mercedes, was sideways right in front of Corey Lewis, and that brings up a chance now for Corey to go on the offensive.
He does, and that's that corner Ashton Harrison alluded to on the track preview, where it's very slippery coming through turn 5.
Brown was heaping the pressure on Deon Halen when he just lost the back end of that car. Did a great job to save it. He's bottled everyone up behind him.
Yahtzee's done a nice job there. Got the AM lead, the only AM competitor in the field, of course, but hanging tough with this group, with all of the pros. That's a solid job by him.
He passed Dirk Muller on the last lap, and that's saying something.
That's amazing. Bit of a head scratcher for that 63 team. Tested well here, but said since they showed up this race week, the pace has not been in that car. Dirk very frustrated.
Well, watching Bill Oberlin do his thing, and his co-driver Chandler Hull is with Amanda.
Yeah, and we've been watching along on this charge by Bill Oberlin. I just want to do one quick update because it's in the view of Chandler and I. The Racer's Edge hood is still up, guys, still in the pits, not looking good for them. And I'm sure you can empathize with some of the frustrations that you guys had here this weekend. An electrical issue, and then yesterday on the very first lap for you, taken out by the race. Seeing this BMW perform here today, you said it was a bit of anxiety on the first lap. What do you think is possible for this team today?
I didn't hear the last part, sorry.
What do you think is possible for this team today?
Oh, I mean, anything's possible. I have to give it to the guys. They were up late last night, putting it all back together, a bunch of different pieces. But, I mean, I've got full faith in Bill, the team, and hopefully I can jump in afterwards and move up a couple more spots. Bill's had a great opening few laps, and I can't wait to get into the car.
You guys haven't been able to pull many laps here this weekend. Does that, the fright of that of Sebring, and talk about people fighting here with this racetrack, do you feel like you have enough experience going into the weekend?
Yeah, I did a 24-hour race here last year in a GT4, so got plenty of laps around here. And then we were here last week for a few days working on our setup and getting up to speed in this new BMW M4 GT3, and a couple practice sessions earlier in the weekend as well. I feel confident, ready to go, and I just can't wait to get in the car after not being able to get a lap in yesterday.
Cal sounds like he is up for the challenge here today.
Yeah, I think he really is. He's really matured a lot. I mean, he's always had great pace, Chandler Hull. He's got a ton of seat time over the last 2 or 3 years. He's got a great mentor and sounding block. He can really kind of be a sponge off Bill Oberlin's experience and speed. And I think that Bimmerwell team are frustrated they haven't hit victory lane, but they keep knocking on the door. They got pace here today.
K-Pax holding down positions 3 and 4. Now Sandra Balzan still out in front. 10 minutes gone by, still a long way to go. Race 2 of the weekend at Sebring. Frantic opening 10 minutes to this one, but it's all been behind Alessandro Balzan. Ryan Dial gave him a look into turn 1 right after the drop of the green flag, but since then he has set sail. CrowdStrike fastest lap, not this lap, but the one before, a 2:01.3. No one else has done better than a 2:01.5. So Alessandro Balzan and Conquest Racing, they rolled off the truck with a good setup to draw upon.
They really did, and Manny Franco did a great job yesterday on his debut at this level of competition. He's got a ton of talent. Not so much experience, but he's learning very, very fast, certainly up to the task. Wasn't intimidated yesterday. I think the key for this team, they need a perfect pit stop, really right tight down. Use that joker here today, that 1 second joker you can use during that pit stop exchange. They need Balzan to have a nice clean lap, hopefully have the race stay green, give Manny Franco as big of a cushion as he can work with, because there's going to be some really strong competition coming at him once we get to the halfway point in this race. But they've got potential there to pull off a surprise win for Conquest Racing.
Watch on board with Ryan Dial should update you. Bill Oberlin did make the pass on Corey Lewis on that last lap, and Onofrio Triarci followed him through. So Oberlin is now up into the 5th spot. Triarci, the lone AM class car, up to 9th overall. They've been strong this weekend, both Onofrio and Charlie Scardina, his co-driver. But good charge there. Bill Oberlin continuing to make progress during his stint.
He is, and now he's got a bit of a gap. He can just get the hammer down. We can really see the true to pace with that BMW. He's got no traffic immediately in front of him. He's going to chase after the next competitor in the Pro-Am class, which is Colin Brown, but he can see Brian Sellers not that far down the road that currently holds down P2 in class. DL's a little bit further up the road as he chases after Balzan for the overall lead.
Really curious what this lap time is going to look like here for Bill now that he is clear of that traffic. Car has been rapid this weekend. Just some misfortune cost them qualifying, and some kind of power delivery issue, electronic related, both qualifying sessions. So they were due to start at the back, then got caught out at the very beginning of the race yesterday, so we've not had a chance to see them flex their muscles since practice.
Personal best in Sector 1 and 2. Here are the two K-Pax cars going side by side. A little bit of debris there that Jordan just cut across. Caldarelli tries to roll speed around the outside. Jordan has to pinch it, gets a little bit sideways. Andrea is through.
Andrea Caldarelli taking back that position and taking back the bragging rights within the K-Pax Racing camp. Able to dispatch of his teammate, Jordan Pepper. These two have had some big duels since they were split after the first rounds of the season at Sonoma. Changes for position all throughout the field. Andrea Caldarelli around Jordan Pepper. That is for 2nd in the pro class, 3rd and 4th overall. Bill Oberlin also up into the 8th overall position, 5th in Pro-Am, having made the pass on Corey Lewis in recent laps. Here is a look at Andrea Caldarelli with his teammate from South Africa, Jordan Pepper, running right behind.
Now the key is going to be what sort of pace does Andrea had. He was very fast here yesterday, dominated the event, just stretched out that lead continuously through the second half of the race yesterday. Now he's cleared the clutches of Jordan Pepper, his teammate. He's going to have some pace, as will Bill Oberlin as he tries to chase down Colin Brown, who holds down 4th in Pro-Am right now.
Well, it's 3 laps delayed, but Racer's Edge is out on track. Mario Farnbacher behind the wheel, 3 laps down after issues on the formation lap. Amanda, what have you heard?
I was able to talk with John Meraki on the issues that were happening there, and as suggested, it was a brake fluid issue on the right rear. They did breathe the brakes. He anticipates that problem is rectified at this point. Talked to him about how his drivers were at this moment. We know we saw that visual of Ashton with their hands on her head, so obviously visibly upset. Said he was able to talk to Mario Farnbacher before he went back on the track and said, just go for it. Go for it for all you have. So unfortunate start for Racer's Edge, especially when they came here with the points lead.
Oh, he's going for it, that's for sure. Nearly dropped the left rear over the curb there at the exit of Le Mans.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, you're 3-4 laps down. You're not going to catch anyone back up. So I think the first factor is get to 70%.
Yes.
Don't go for it to the point you throw at the fence and you get a 0-point score.
That's right. So the way that the points are paid out in Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, as long as you reach 70% of the winner in terms of distance in the race, distance covered, you will score points. And the fact that there are just 9 cars in the Pro-Am class this weekend, points are paid back to 10, so they are guaranteed at least 9th place points if they finish enough laps, and they're on pace to do that, only being 3 laps behind Balzan at this time. But then the other thought is you hope for some attrition from some of your competitors, and maybe you could pick up a few more spots that way.
The question has been answered in terms of Oberlin and Caldarelli's pace. Both those drivers ran 201.8 on the last lap. Only cars faster right now are Balzan and Bial by 1/10 and 2/10 respectively.
Big advantage for them. Scott Halen chasing Brian Sellers. Colin Brown behind, so Halen, the Porsche meet in the Mercedes sandwich. A couple of different Mercedes teams represented, though, DXDT Racing and Riley.
And we understand for the Indy 8 hour, they're actually going to turn it into 1 pro and 1 am entry for that 8-hour event there. So we expect to see Dirk Mueller, Brian Sellers teaming up with another yet to be named third driver there. So that'll be interesting to see what they can do, and they'll probably be able to run that car a little bit edgier. They've talked a lot this season about how they have to sort of compromise their setup a little bit to make it comfortable for their teammates, Smithson and David Askew. I think when you release it a little bit and free up the car a little bit, makes it trickier to drive, but there may be some more pace that they can unleash here for the final round of the championship.
I suspect, reading the tea leaves, that means that it's likely to be a Mercedes-nominated entry to score points towards Intercontinental GT Challenge powered by Pirelli. Look at that dust storm you have to drive through. Someone up the road dropped the wheel.
Turn 1 is hard enough as it is, let alone when you can't even see where you're going.
But back to the 8-hour. Not only is it the season finale for Fanatec GT here in North America, and difference this year, that points are paid for the North American Championship at the full 8-hour distance. In previous years, it had been paid after 3 hours, and it's different in 2022, but it's also the next stop for Intercontinental GT Challenge powered by Pirelli, which started with the Bathurst 12-hour. More recently, the Total Energies 24 Hours of Spa over in Belgium in the 8-hour, and will conclude at the Gulf 12 Hours this year. Manufacturers will nominate entries to score points.
New fast lap, a 2-minute .992 by Caldarelli. Andrea Caldarelli, what a lap. 3/10 quicker than Balzan, 6/10 quicker than Dial. He is on the charge.
In fact, the entire top 9 set their respective cars' fastest lap of the race that last time by. So these tires coming in, the track coming in, and with an hour and 12 minutes to go, the pace is going up, up, up. Here is the lone AM-class car here this weekend, with Onofrio Triarci just dropped back behind Corey Lewis, whom he had passed a few laps ago, but still giving that car a straight, a nice, solid run in that Triarci Ferrari.
Super impressed. The lap times are really, really strong for Triarci here. Scardina typically has a little bit edgy in pace, so we'll be curious to see what sort of lap times he can turn. Certainly the Triarci Competizione team have great pace here this weekend, as we're now looking at Caldarelli, tails away through turn 1. He's gapped his teammate by a bunch, you can see that. So they have really unleashed the potential of this number 1 car. It's been a bit of a mystery chassis, the team admits that. Sometimes they really can't get their hands around why it doesn't perform on certain race weekends, but they have certainly found it here.
As you can see, that CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race for Andrea Caldarelli. Set that on the previous lap. Actually was a considerable ways off of that the last time by. Ran a 2:01.5 compared to that 2.9. That car not totally comfortable, which could explain the big variance in lap time.
It looks edgy, doesn't it, when you see it compared to maybe the Ferrari and certainly the Mercedes when we're seeing battling throughout the course of the 2 races here this weekend. It's got pace, but it's right on edge, very twitchy.
Now he's pushing it for all it's worth, running second right now in the Pro class with an hour and 10 minutes remaining. K-Pax got back in the winning ways yesterday, looking to repeat the feat today.
Today's coverage is brought to you by Fanatec, AWS, and CrowdStrike.
The Pro-Am battle all season long has been fascinating, and that continues into this race at Sebring. Now Brian Sellers feeling the heat. It's Jan Halen knocking on the door right behind him. Look how much speed they throw into turn 17. Sellers drifts wide. Halen sees his opening. Can he get alongside? No, he cannot.
Wow, that was a rodeo ride right there. Just trying to hang on. Incredible stuff. He really just tried to tighten that Porsche up through the apex area and just get a big bump up on 2 wheels. He loves to ride a bike. He was literally doing it there.
Notice to the background of that shot, the World BMW is slowly but surely closing in on these three cars. This is second, third, and fourth in Pro-Am. Ryan Dial, by the way, leads that class, and he is long gone, running second overall. It is about 8 seconds up the road from where you find this battle. But Bill Oberlin, since he got clear of Corey Lewis, he's been hammering out those laps, and he is reeling that trio in.
He really is, and I tell you what, when you stack up Chandler Hull against the AMs, he's going to have a bit of pace, I feel, on most of these guys. George Kurtz has had a great weekend, swept in GT America here. He's really on form here. But I think that if Oberlin can really even gain any position, just get it close when they get to the pit stop exchange, Chandler Hull may have something to work with, not just a podium run. I wouldn't discount these guys out for a win here today.
No question. It'll be their first of the season. You know they're hungry for it. A little extra motivation given the disappointment yesterday.
Yeah, they're going for it. Shame that we don't see the Turner car here today. Previous commitments, as you mentioned, Ryan, for Michael Diner means he couldn't be here today. That's a source of frustration because they always haven't had a car strong enough to win. They certainly have had it here this weekend. Seller's just nailing it, hitting his marks, not being flustered by the presence of Jan Halen. This is where Jan Halen is good. He can really carry a ton of speed into Sunset Bend here. Just right there, close the gap on Brian a little bit.
Managed to pull up alongside on the last lap, not close enough this time. And in fact, if anyone has gained, I'd say it's Colin Brown, who's right there, the CrowdStrike sponsored Mercedes from Riley. Oberlin getting that much closer, chipped away another couple of tenths from the trio that he is chasing. Hour and 7 minutes to go. The fight is on in the midfield and towards the front of the Pro-Am class at Sebring. Business picking up from second, third, and fourth, and you could throw fifth into the mix as well in the Pro-Am class as Bill Oberlin continues to reel in these three cars. It's Brian Settlers leading the train, Jan Halen in the middle, and Colin Brown behind, but very soon it's going to be a four-way party there. Second, third, fourth, and fifth all together.
Yeah, and that's going to be crucial for Oberlin, as we said. If he can just close that gap, gives them a shot at the win here today. Sellers just laid down his fastest first sector of the day, so there's still pace in that DXDT Mercedes.
Interesting note, by the way, from race control, an incident between the 23 and 91 under review. The 23 is the Onofrio Triarci AM class car. The 91 is Corey Lewis. We know they swapped positions a couple of laps ago. Didn't see exactly how that happened, but there was at least something that was enough to draw the attention of the stewards.
It doesn't seem to matter if there is a class overlap. Everyone gets their elbows out and doesn't want to give up that track position. You'd think for a Triazzi and Scardina aboard that 23 Ferrari, they're just out to prove a point. Just go out and really enjoy the weekend, get the best possible performance from themselves, and overall position is really their target each and every weekend now as we finish off the season.
Corey Lewis here, a multi-time champion in single-make Lamborghini racing back in 2018, 2019, as well as 2020. Won the Lamborghini World Final in his class in 2015. That is Jordan Pepper going 2 wheels off, speaking of Lamborghini drivers.
Jordan's been a little bit wild through that corner all weekend long. He certainly is able to dance that car on the ragged edge and just keep it together. He really is able to make a difference with one of these race cars. Even if the balance isn't quite there, he's able to just ride that fine line between keeping it on the racetrack and disaster.
The incident has been reviewed and the stewards have handed down their remonstrance. The 91 must return that position to the 23, so Lewis is going to have to back up a little bit after being adjudged to be the guilty party in this. Let's take a look at it here. A little bit of contact maybe.
Bit of chrome horn there in usage to gain the track position. Problem is for Lewis now, he's got to give up 5 seconds because Triazzi has dropped back from him. That's actually going to kill Lewis's ability to catch on to that train of Sellers, Halen, Brown, and Oberlin.
Which he was doing. I mean, he's hanging right there with Oberlin, comparing lap times, just turned in that car's fastest lap of the race, a 2:01.7 the last time by. That group ahead is running around that pace, and Oberlin actually lost a little bit of pace on that last lap. Let's go on board with Bill here. Seem amiss.
Yeah, I don't really see anything amiss, but yeah, big pace. And then over the last couple of laps, I've noticed that delta spreading a little bit between he and Colin Brown immediately in front of him. So I'm not sure if they peaked the tire pressures or something. Obviously, they didn't have the notebook to work from yesterday in terms of a long green flag run. So I'm not sure if they've just missed on the pressures a little bit, or if he's got some kind of technical issue. Couple of laps here and try and see how it's shaken out. His last lap was a 2:02.5 compared to his best lap of the day at 2:01.6. That's another 2:02.5. So yeah, he's lost about 9/10 from his previous best, or his personal best, earlier in this race.
Nearly identical lap times, those last two laps, which point out significantly off the pace potential we've seen out of that car to this point in the proceedings. Ryan Sellers doing what he needs to do, second place. It'll be Scott Smithson to drive that car. We get to the pit window, which is looming, by the way. We're closing in on that pit window 12 minutes from now. Don't expect to see too many early callers, especially from this Pro-Am class with the pros in the car right now. Corner speeds at the hairpin. That is the slowest corner on the track. And those Mercedes, as we've seen all year, they really carve those tight corners nicely. No surprise to see both Sellers and Muller up at the top.
Yeah, they have good downforce into the brake zone there, and they're just good what we call mechanical grip, where the suspension is really doing all of the work versus the aero through that tight hairpin corner. Some of them can just be, just torque off as well in terms of being in the sweet spot with the gear ratio on the Mercedes as well, allowing you to roll through that corner without getting too much retardation from the gear ratio itself. But nonetheless, very impressive. And the really big reason why Oberlin's pace is kind of surprising is we're seeing a lot of personal best from many in the field. Caldarelli just laid down a new fast lap of the race. Pepper, Halen, Brown all set personal best as well on that last lap around.
Remarkable pace that is still there on these Pirellis, nearly 30 minutes into the stint. We expect some pace to come with the fuel load burning off, but it speaks to what these Pirellis can do in terms of maintaining their grip over the course of a stint, and take advantage of that lower fuel load this deep into the run. Alessandro Balzan out in control. Ryan Dial runs second, then Andrea Caldarelli in third.
Today's coverage is brought to you by Pirelli, Rebellion, and VP Racing Fuels.
Alessandro Balzan continues to dominate from the front. Stuck this car on pole yesterday for the second race of the weekend. And through the first 30 minutes, he has not been headed, building a lead of approaching 2 seconds over Ryan Dial, who continues to pursue in another Ferrari 488. Last year of this 488 platform, brand new Ferrari coming next season. Interest in it has been high. I think everyone's eagerly anticipating what it's going to look like and how it will perform.
Yeah, I think there's been some images that have been released, and certainly that Conquest team, they've already made a statement. They're going to have one of those new cars, so they anticipate coming back for a full season attack on this championship, maybe with Balzan, but certainly with Manny Franco. Sellers there a little bit loose there as he negotiates turn 15, so laying down some really good laps, and maybe his tires are peaking just a little bit. As you mentioned, we're about 10 minutes from that pit stop window opening, but expect these pros to go a little bit deeper into that. Look at Halen. Look how deep he can take that Porsche, and he gets to the inside of Sellers. What a move! Wow, he just rolled off the brake pedal, just carried that momentum into the corner and made the car stick. Now Colin Brown's on the attack. Sellers goes back at Hagelin. He's got to be careful that Braun doesn't just fill in that inside lane. There goes Colin Brown to the inside.
Colin Brown saw the door open and he kicked it down. He's up another spot, so a disaster for Brian Sellers, who's just dropped 2 spots in the sequence of 2 corners. And now Jan Halen is in the clear. That car was rapid with the Belgian behind the wheel in race 1 yesterday.
I think Sellers got a handling issue. We saw it in turn 15, just got a little bit sideways there. Looked like he didn't have the confidence to roll speed into 17 either. And he's dropping back rapidly here.
Those are podium positions in Pro-Am, changing hands on board with the Belgian Jan Halen. He now is 2nd in the Pro-Am class. Brown now is 3rd. Sellers demoted to 4th.
Fangio Bend. Cunningham corner. Hard to believe that P.D. Cunningham has a corner named after him. The legend. This is Tower. Huge challenge to get through there cleanly. Halen on the attack. He knows this championship is pivotal right now. Every position he gained here today sets them up for Indy.
Riding on board with Jan Halen. Down the Ullman Straight, now running 2nd in the Pro-Am class. Let's look at this lap time. See how it compares to the front runners. Now that he's in clean air, you can look up in the rearview mirror and see Colin Brown lurking right there behind. But this is how the move was made. We've seen him aggressive on corner entry here before, and it's almost like a short track slide job to get out in front on corner exit.
It just looked like Brown's a little bit tentative there on the braking into the corner. Then he's trying to get back at him. And Colin Brown gets a run, just slices down to the inside. So in a heartbeat, 2 positions lost there by Brian Sellers. And now you can see he's dropped back about 6-8 car lengths here in the subsequent lap. So just trying to regroup a little bit. Just think the balance may have gone off a little bit for Brian. That's why he's lost a little bit of pace.
Oh, you can see a big divot has grown up there on the inside. Or the exit, I should say, of turn 5. A number of cars throughout the weekend have been dropping wheels there. And for a bumpy ride for Jan Halen, but he kept his foot in it.
Sellers' last lap was a 2.5 slower than Colin Brown, so he is really struggling with that race car right now. Meanwhile, this driver is not struggling at all. Look at the pace that he has. He has nearly caught Ryan Dial here. Can he get to the lead of this race potentially before the pit stop? What a drive by Andrea Caldarelli. You'd have to feel that when he got stymied there behind his teammate, Jordan Pepper, really cost him a bundle of time. But he's got released from that, and now he's just been on the attack just like he was yesterday. He is in the groove here this weekend with that race car.
No doubt. And Michele Beretta was in the groove at the start of race 1 yesterday. That's who will be taking over here shortly as we approach that pit stop window. This is not a fight for class position, but you'll want to make this pass as quickly as possible to set off in pursuit of the pro class leader right here from Conquest Racing.
Balzan has just been so consistent. Hasn't had that ultimate pace of Caldarelli, but has the pole position, grabbed the lead, had the track position. This is what he does.
Now, Manny Franco is Alessandro Balzan's teammate. He is in his first weekend of GT3 racing. And in just a few minutes, there's a pretty good likelihood, Amanda, that he is going to inherit the overall lead in just his 2nd ever GT3 race.
We saw how excited he was after a stint yesterday. Manny off camera just saying that he's nervous as he might accept that lead when Alessandro Balzan makes his way into the pits here. Manny, you're going to have your 2nd race in competition with us. When you look at your performance yesterday, what can you glean from that you can apply here today?
Relative consistency. I only had a couple mistakes there, but I'm leaning on the consistency. That's the more important aspect of it. I can make adjustments as the race goes on.
So there's been rumors around what might happen with this car at the Indy 8 Hour, and as your confidence grows and we see your performance, could a win maybe inspire an entry from you?
Possibly. Anything's possible for sure. We'll see what happens, I guess.
Good luck.
Well, thank you.
We know the team will be there. We know the car will be there. We know Alessandro Balzan will be part of the lineup, but who the other two drivers are remains a mystery.
My money's on Manny.
Yeah. Been impressive, though, in his debut. 54 minutes to go. And race 2 of the weekend.
Today's coverage is brought to you by ASUS Republic of Gamers, Motul, Stay Frosty, and 511.
Andrea Caldarelli hunting down Ryan Dial for 2nd overall, and to find himself in a position with no interference between himself and the overall leader and class leader, Alessandro Balzan. But he's got a savvy veteran to try and get by, and Ryan Dial not likely to go quietly into the night.
No way he'll go quietly, but he's feeling the heat right now. That Lamborghini is absolutely dialed in here this weekend. Tremendous pace being displayed, but as we've seen so many times before, passing here is not that easy. There are opportunities, but when you got a real ace behind the wheel like Ryan Dial, it's not going to come easy for Andrea right now, and he can see Balzan escaping a little bit, and this is just going to slow Dial down as he has to compromise his lines a little bit if he does get defensive.
Possibility, though, available to the K-Pax team. If Caldarelli can't find a way past Dial here promptly, we are approaching that pit window, and with Michele Beretta being capable of approximately the same pace that Caldarelli is, they might be able to pit him out of that traffic and hope to make the leapfrog move with the short pit.
Yeah, I think ultimately they know with the pace of Beretta versus the co-drivers for Alessandro Balzan and certainly Ryan Dial. I mean, their two partners there don't have the experience of Beretta, so Beretta should be able to make easy work of them. Not easy, but he should be able to get to the front either way. So they got some strategy options to work with as everyone's starting to gear up for this pit stop window opening. But I'd hate to take Andrea off the track with the pace that he's displaying. Yes, Beretta was quick, but not in the same zone that Andrea's finding here this weekend.
K-Pax elects to do inside of 2 minutes away from the pit window opening. Taking a look at some lap times, and now that they are clear of Brian Sellers, we've seen Jan Haywen and Colin Brown turn some really fast laps, on pace with even Alessandro Balzan actually the last few times around. So those are two cars to keep an eye on as we get deeper in to this opening stint of the race. Balzan's lead at the line has grown to 2.4 seconds. Dial losing some time now as he squabbles here with Andrea Caldarelli. This is for 2nd and 3rd overall, but big implications. Closing in on the pit window. In race 2 of the weekend and the final 90-minute race of the year, with just the Indianapolis 8 Hour still on the docket in Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. Up front, it's Alessandro Balzan by 2.5 seconds, but Ryan Dial runs 2nd and has his hands full with Andrea Caldarelli.
He's trying to hang on. Here's a big race for Triazzi. It's their home circuit. Ryan Dial has an affiliation with Sebring as well. His wife Jessica is from here, so I'm sure there's some family in attendance this weekend as well. But right now, all he's thinking about is trying to keep that Lamborghini behind him before he has to hit pit lane. Here's Jordan Pepper. Was trying to hang on. It just doesn't seem like that green Lamborghini, the number 3, has the same pace as the black car, the number 1 here this weekend for K-Pax. Jan Haylen has been cutting the fastest laps of anyone in this later stage of this first stint. Just did his personal best. Each and every lap he seems to be cutting a tenth or two off his previous best time. Now down to his 2-minute 1.3. That's only half a second off the Caldarelli's best of the day, and Charlie Luck waits patiently to get his turn behind the wheel.
Amanda, what are you hearing from Charlie and the right team?
I was standing by watching him get ready for this stint. He was stretching out, doing some little calisthenics, getting himself ready for this race ahead. You look back to yesterday, Charlie had that miscue where he did that spin and lost some position to other of the championship Pro-Am cars. Now with Ashton Harrison and Mario Fahnbacher at the back of the pack, you also have the George Kurtz and Colin Brown car right with them. So however this race shakes out, that battle is going to go down to Indy. But I talked to Charlie about Sebring and what he likes about this place. And instead of talking about the racetrack, he went to the history. Said he loved that this was the grounds that the Germans and Italians would come to see who had the better cars. Also talked about just the historical side of this place for World War II. But when I asked him about this championship, what he thought about it, he said, Amanda, simply, I can't think about it. So Charlie ready here to get underway for the second race here at Sebring.
His teammate Jan Halen continuing to cut quick laps. Ryan Dial also just cut a quick one. Personal best lap this deep into the stint, and he needed it just to get a little breathing room with Caldarelli breathing down his neck.
He's right there, and Caldarelli's going with him. You have to think Caldarelli's getting a little bit of aero wash from that Ferrari right in front of him through some of these high-speed corners, but just remarkable this year. We've seen it a lot at different venues, Ryan, that these Pirelli tires late in the stint, yeah, the cars are a little bit lighter as the fuel burns away a little bit, but to get that performance is remarkable. Yeah, rubber's going down, track may evolve, but even so, typically you get a lot of tire deg. That's not happening this year.
Pit window is open. So now the strategy cards will start to come out. We'll see who blinks first. These two have been quicker than Balzan the last few laps. The gap has come down by a few tenths, right around 2 seconds right now. On board with Dial. You can see Balzan just out the windshield.
How smooth he is, Ryan. For a ride with him in a prototype at Road Atlanta a few years back, and pretty impressed. The boy can really pedal.
His resume,
like being in that passenger seat.
Yeah. His resume would agree with that. Champion on many, many of the big races in sports car racing. He's done a little bit of everything. And this year, helping to tutor Justin Wetherill, is his co-driver with Triarsi Competizione. Will take over this car when he elects to give it up, but I think he's going to be hanging onto the reins as long as they will let him before this pit window comes to a close.
Yeah, you got the pros on board. In most cases, they have a significant advantage over their AM driving partner. Certainly for Caldarelli, he's got a great teammate in Michele Beretta, who's rated as silver, but I think that's going to change for next year, looking at the FIA categorization forms that were released this week for drivers that are under consideration for a regrading profile. Part of the new pro driving regulations is you have to have a silver as part of that driver lineup, hence the change that we saw after the initial rounds of this championship for the season.
DXDT has brought Dirk Muller in for a pit stop. Car he shares with David Askew.
I think he was struggling. There must have been something wrong with the tires that they feel in terms of pressure, or he's not feeling it here today. So typically you'd see Dirk well into this pit stop window and eating that up before they release it to David. So right now they just want to give David the seat time and see if the car's balance will come back a little bit.
And maybe catch a caution if it comes out here in the middle of this window. That would be one way to cycle to the front, but it's been a clean weekend to this point. Probably more than realistically hoped for. You see the car sitting still, now released.
It's a good sign, means everything was done in plenty of time, and then you just got to make sure you don't get underneath that minimum pit stop time of 80 seconds here. You got a 1 second joker if you didn't use it yesterday to play with. You use that once per weekend. Staying out. A couple more laps if they choose to.
DXDT does employ the joker for Muller and Askew. It's been released. Halfway through the pit window, halfway through the race. And no let up here in the battle for second overall. Pro-Am leader Ryan Dial holds the position over the presumptive champion, Andrea Caldarelli. He's in a position to clinch that title as things run right now.
Yes, he is. Even if he had some issue that meant that he couldn't show up at Indianapolis as he peeks his nose to the inside once again on Ryan Dial, but too far back. And Beretta should run and score the victories. Andrea would win it on a tiebreaker because he will have won more races even if Beretta should win it, Indy, because it's one race, double points, but only one race. That means Andrea has the tiebreaker by a single extra race victory as he again looks to the inside. He'd love to get that drag position on Ryan before the round of pit stops.
This is Jan Halen on Jordan Pepper. So
Wow.
Jordan Pepper has lost the pace here deep into this stint. We know maybe it's less he lost the pace and Halen has found it. Halen has been flying.
Absolutely, just like yesterday, we saw him so strong at the end of the race, almost nipped around Colin Brown late in the going.
Less of an indictment of Pepper's pace and more to show how strong Halen has been, and Colin Brown will be next to take a shot at Jordan Pepper.
The car's looked edgy for Jordan Pepper. He's driven the wheels off it, trying to maximize the pace, but it's almost like a role reversal in terms of where those two chassis are underneath the K-Pax 10, because it's been the one car that's been struggling in recent rounds. For Jordan Pepper, he needed to beat Andrea Caldarelli here to keep his chances of the championship open, so that's going away in front of his eyes.
Report from the DXDT pit lane as the leader is in, by the way. Balzan has come to the pit lane, and Franco set for just his second ever race stint in a GT3 car. But a quick update, thanks to Amanda for this. Dirk Muller apparently telling the DXDT crew that there is something wrong with the car. Doesn't know what it is, but he felt it was very sketchy. So they threw a new set of tires on it and are hoping for the best. This is the Conquest Racing crew, former IndyCar team, and over the last 10 years or so establishing themselves as a sports car racing operation par excellence. On go the Pirelli P0s, in goes the VP Racing Fuel, and Manny Franco installed behind the wheel.
It's like a tidy pit stop so far.
M-Class car, champions-elect, Charlie Scardina and an Ofrio Triar seat. Charlie will be taking the car home today after starting the race yesterday. This looks like it might be delayed a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
They're already up to 75 seconds, and that car is still stationary. Now they release. 80 seconds is the minimum.
Like some delay on the driver belts getting secured there. That's going to hurt them big time in terms of the track position.
Well, keep in mind, everyone else in the class, they've been battle tested all year long. This is just the second live pit stop that team has done, and it was 12 seconds over the minimum. That will be very costly for the Conquest crew. Meanwhile, Colin Brown has found a way past Jordan Pepper. I believe we've got to look at just how he got it done. In fact, he had already made the pass out of Big Bend and into the hairpin, so that must have happened early in the lap.
Yeah, I'm surprised they've kept Jordan Pepper out there. His pace has fallen off a cliff here a little bit. Get Michi Goikberg behind the wheel and see what he can do on some fresh tires here, but he'll be in this time.
Yep, leaders must come this lap, or else there's no way they'll be inside of that window, which is set to expire in just over a minute. So here come the race leaders. Pro-Am leader Ryan Dial set to give way to Justin Wetherill. We saw K-Pax come in with Caldarelli. Michele Beretta set to go. This needs to be a clean stop. Hold on to that big advantage that Dial had built. Charlie Luck getting ready himself. Big stint for him with the championship in mind. Keep in mind he had that little miscue in his stint yesterday. That might have cost them a chance at the win.
Yeah, Jan Halen was very much on the rebound after that spin by Charlie, but Charlie's been up on the wheel. It's just that one mistake, really. His pace has been good here. This is going to be crucial here. I really feel the one is in great position with Beretta's pace in the second half of this race to maybe grab the overall win here again and seal the championship for Andrea Caldarelli in fine fashion. But that battle for the Pro-Am win, as we see that car release, Triazzi. There's Beretta out in front of Wetherill.
Yeah, K-Pax ahead.
Should give him the overall lead here once everything cycles through.
Definitely. Looking at the times, great pit stop by the K-Pax crew. They use their joker here. Dial to Wetherill was delayed by about 4 seconds. Wright, though, executed to perfection using their joker, similar for Riley, similar for the second K-Pax car, and DXDT executing from Sellers to Smithson. Oberlin to Hull also near perfection. So the big loser, it would appear, in this pit sequence then, on this lap at least, would be the Triarci car, Dial to Wetherill, being 4 seconds over when everybody else executed. That will cut in to their advantage over the rest of the Pro-Am runners.
Yeah, that's going to be super frustrating for Ryan Dial to, you know, drive your heart out for nearly 50 minutes and then just see 4 seconds of those tenths that you've preciously been gaining throughout the course of that stint to go away in that pit stop exchange. But now Justin Wetherill behind the wheel, trying to bounce back from a difficult Road America weekend where he had a couple of incidents, didn't see any action come race time. But he's a pretty chill guy. He takes it on the chin, accepts, puts his hand in the air if he feels he's made a mistake. It's all part of the learning curve, he feels. And he's really been a nice addition to our paddock, as has this team.
He is from nearby Orlando, Florida. 2020 Ferrari Challenge North America Copa Shell AM champion. Last year was third in the higher graded Trofeo Pirelli AM class. Making the step into the GT3 ranks. He's had flashes of big success. The big win at first race of the weekend at VIR comes to mind. Showing good, strong pace here as the battle rages. This is Manny Franco working on the back of George Kurtz here with 38 minutes to go. We'll keep an eye on that. But Justin Wetherill leading the way as now Beretta cycles through to the front. You can see just how much ground the Conquest guys lost with that slow pit stop. That car was well out in front. And now it's kind of in the mid-pack here. And there's going to be a battle for pro position shaping up if Franco can't pass George Kurtz here. Misha Goikberg in that green Lamborghini who is closing in. That would be for position in the pro class. And Goikberg looks up the inside, has to back out of it.
Yeah, he locked it up a little bit there. Had to climb the curb a little bit. That just weights that front wheel, so you saw a little bit of lock up there. So he is thinking about making a bold move. Manny didn't give him the lane. Manny's trying to regroup here. He's putting the pressure all over George Kurtz, but Kurtz has escaped his attention here for a little bit.
To update the Pro-Am battle, Wetherill leads. Luck is 6.8 seconds behind. Kurtz is another couple seconds back. That's the battle we're watching here. Kurtz leading this train in that Mercedes, then the Conquest car of Franco. That is a pro class car, second in class, but feeling the pressure from Misha Goikberg.
How important is that pit stop going to be for Wetherill? He has the Pro-Am lead. As you said, a 6-second gap, but it would have been up over 10 if they'd executed the perfect stop there. Misha Goikberg aboard this number 3 machine, starting to heap the pressure on Manny Franco as he tries to regroup here and get back to George Kurtz in the CrowdStrike entry.
All of this at this level is brand new to Manny Franco. He's had a lot of success early in single-meg Ferrari racing. But Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, it's a different beast.
So impressed though with his boys. I mean, Amanda knows him well from the Ferrari Challenge appearances that he's had. But this is a different league, a different level, and he just done a really nice job of just settling in, hasn't panicked, hasn't made any big mistakes so far. Great debut weekend.
The two drivers he's sandwiched between here. George Kurtz has raced most of the big races over the years, won his class in Spa earlier this year, and same can be said for Misha Goikberg. He's been at this for 10 years in sports cars and single-seaters before that. All of this is brand new to Franco, but you wouldn't know it as you watch him wheel his Ferrari around Sebring. This, though, is the overall leader, Michele Beretta. Michele Beretta securing control over this race with 35 minutes to go. The K-Pax crew did what they needed in the pit lane, and a spin from Scott Smithson. He had been 4th in Pro-Am, 7th overall, or is that David Askew, excuse me. Sister DXDT racing car running 7th in class, 11th overall, and in a bit of a precarious position here down the Ullman Straight.
Yeah, he manages to create enough room to get it turned around. So we saw Brian Sellers struggling for balance late in the stint, like the last 10 minutes, had a tremendous run going and then suddenly started to drop back a little bit. So maybe it's more than tires. Maybe this car has just lost a little bit of handling through some other issue. I mean, with the bumps around this place, it is certainly possible to have a suspension shim or something move, something come a little bit loose, and suddenly the wheels aren't literally pointing in the right direction. So try and get some feedback from that group and see what's amiss there right now in the late going.
How about this from Justin Wetherill? His last lap, a 2:03.9, was well clear, a couple tenths clear of Charlie Luck, who is second in Pro-Am. So he's seen that gap grow over the past few laps since he's been plugged into this race car. That is phenomenal stuff from Justin.
It really is, and he's in a nice spot. He's got no pressure from behind. Just needs to be talked through this. I'm sure Ryan is on the radio since his stint, just talking him through each corner, watching the monitors, watching our coverage here, just to help him through this. Big challenge up ahead. There's still 33 minutes plus on the board, as you can see. He's got some fierce competitors who want to try and catch him and take that win away.
Had a bit of a slip up on that lap, ran a 2:04.5. This pack behind him all running in the 2:03s. Will be an ebb and flow to this. Franco still keeping Koikberg at bay.
We're used to the pros running, consistent lap times within a tenth or two of one another, sometimes hundredths, but this is a tough racetrack to put together. 17 turns here, the bumps, the challenges, the nuance of this circuit. To nail a lap is really difficult when you don't have that experience to do that lap after lap, plus the mental anxiety of knowing you're leading a race in your class.
5 seconds behind this gaggle of cars. That's where you'll find Chandler Hull, who on the last lap made a pass around Scott Smithson to take 4th in Pro-Am. So Bill Auberlen got the job started from the back, gained 5 positions overall in his stint, and now Chandler Hull here in the final 30-plus minutes is going to try and salvage what he can out of what has been a trying weekend for the Bimmer World team.
Yeah, and I really felt they had a strong shot, and they still do have a podium, if not the win. And it was just like the second half of Bill's stint. He had the hammer down, really laying down some really impressive lap times, and then the car's balance went away. They indicated to us in pit lane that it was something with the tires going away a little bit, or the balance going away on this BMW. So maybe they got too aggressive with their starting pressures, or just the setup in general. And that's really put Chandler Hull on the back foot a little bit. So now he's just got to really focus forward, got over a half an hour to work with, try and close that gap up ahead to George Kurtz and company. See if they can get onto the podium. But I think Wetherill may be too far down the road to even think about a win.
Yesterday, Chandler made his 100th pro start in a BMW. Didn't even make it to the start-finish line on the first lap. The contact happened that quickly. It still counts.
Sure if it counts. I crossed the line.
I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe this is it. Maybe today is the day. It's his 100th start.
Now this one's going a lot more to script, that's for sure. But he's doing that feat, that 100th start at the same track in which his mentor Bill Auberlen made his 500th BMW start earlier this year in the 12-hour race back in March.
That's just ridiculous.
It is. Amazing.
100 for the same brand.
Amazing longevity. Scott Smithson is behind the wheel of the 08 for DXDT Racing. Amanda, what have you heard from his co-driver Brian Sellers on what kind of car he has to work with?
Yeah, when I got over to talk to Brian, him and Dirk Mueller were locked in eyes, just shaking their head together in confusion. Brian told me that they've had lost the tires almost immediately in the race. Specifically, the rear tires said they didn't even have that issue yesterday. So I think some bit of confusion over there at DXDT as seeing what's going on with these Mercedes.
Thanks, Amanda. I'd imagine so. The conditions today very similar to yesterday, and you wouldn't imagine there'd be a huge swing like that.
No, maybe they were just trying to tweak on the race car from the balance they had yesterday and just missed it a little bit. Certainly Dirk struggled more than Brian did. Brian, for the first 2/3 of his stint, I'd say the first 30 minutes of this race, looked to be in pretty good shape. Just holding station there, running P2 in class, and then just suddenly you just see the car slide a little bit. Halen pounce, Brown pounce, and he was dropping back rapidly.
Tough spot to find yourself in, that's for sure. Smithson now in the 5th spot. A little bit behind this group as Koikberg goes 2 wheels wide on the exit of turn 16. There's no doubt he is pushing. He's got the bit between his teeth.
Kurtz is doing a great job. He's really finding his sweet spot once again in terms of the confidence that we've seen in years past. Great races with he and Jason Howard today in GT America. Well, this weekend, should I say, yesterday and today.
Again, how about Manny Franco mixing it up with Charlie Luck and George Kurtz, who clinched a championship earlier today in GT America, by the way, and Misha Goikberg. He came in this weekend and, by virtue of his age, was going to have a silver rating from the FIA, asked for a derogation to bronze and received it given his lack of experience, but immediately was on the pace. Quite frankly, no one was quite sure where he was going to fit in. And on some level, the guys he's around here, these should be his peers until you think about how little he's driven one of these cars.
He did it again, quite frankly, you said, right?
They did.
Some good ones today. What was yesterday?
Robbie Foley was fully focused, I believe, yesterday.
But yeah, I mean, Franco has just been amazing. You can see he's just settled in here. You wouldn't, looking at this picture, like, who doesn't have any experience? You wouldn't be able to point your finger at him. He's just doing a great job.
Absolutely remarkable. 28 minutes to go. Michele Beretta has this race firmly in control, but everything behind him very much up for grabs as this race enters its final third.
Today's coverage is brought to you by Acura, BMW M, and Ferrari.
It is a massive lead, somewhere in the vicinity of 15 seconds at last check for Michele Beretta. Justin Wetherell continuing to do his thing, being put in a position where he's going to need to close this win out. His lone win in this championship to this point in his career came in a race 1 situation where he started and Dial finished. That was race 1 at VIR. So a totally different set of circumstances for him now to have to be the closer. A crucial 40 minutes for him, and that lead has dwindled somewhat. It's down under 5 seconds. It was as high as 7.5. He's done a nice job running consistent lap times while this fight is breaking out behind him.
Well, there's a lot of laps still here to run, so he can't afford to be 6-7 tenths off per lap because they're going to catch him at that rate. So he's got to try and find a balance here between being consistent, not making the big mistake and having a big overshoot into the corner and losing 2 or 3 seconds, but at the same time, the team will know what sort of lap times he needs to perform to maintain the gap to this chasing pack.
Charlie Luck in the Porsche, on board with him now. George Kurtz in the Mercedes behind him. That is for 2nd and 3rd in Pro-Am. Behind Kurtz, you find Franco and Goikberg. That is 2nd and 3rd in Pro. 2 important class battles, close vicinity to one another, and they may be overlapping before too long.
Charlie's doing a really nice job right now, hitting his marks. Franco backing up a little bit here. Misha's going to be thinking about it. He's not afraid to get his elbows out, Misha Goldberg, in terms of getting that track position. And he does a great job there of setting up that final corner on the Elmwood straightaway. Uses a bit more of the extra road off to the left-hand side to set up a wider radius, potentially through the corner. Getting the draft here on George Kurtz, looks to the inside, pops out, not enough.
Has built up some breathing room relative to Goikberg. Oh, he shoves it up the inside of Kurtz. He had that thing sideways, somehow able to manhandle it going back in the straight line, and they'll go side by side down the front straightaway. Not for class position, but Franco looking for some breathing room relative to Goikberg with 25 minutes to go. Manny Franco has muscled his way by George Kurtz. Misha Goikberg will follow him through with 25 minutes remaining. The GT3 debutant looking like a savvy veteran, Cal.
Incredible. Made a move into 17, had it really tight to the inside with that amount of steering input. He hit a bump, got sideways, kept the car off of George Kurtz, but still kept the power down the front straightaway, just tucked it to the inside through turn 1, opened up the door, and Misha Goldberg went with him.
It was a close call, though. At the apex of turn 17, Franco very aggressive to get to the inside, caught one of those famous bumps, and that car was pointed sideways momentarily.
And those are the moments when you look at it for a young man with so little experience. That really is a testimony to his skills. I mean, Eric Bachelard, Alessandro Balzano said this kid is really talented, doesn't have any experience at this level, but that showcases to me he's got that feel.
Is clear of Kurtz. This has allowed Charlie Luck to escape. Great news for Charlie. Chandler Hull still making inroads, chipping away just behind in the Bimmer World BMW, 4th in class. Doesn't cost Kurtz any points because those are 2 pro cars that passed him, but it does cost him from an opportunity cost standpoint. Now he doesn't have the chance to put the pressure on Luck for class position. Top speeds overall in our race vision powered by AWS, and at BMW, awfully quick. Doesn't matter if it's Bill Auberland or Chandler Hull, both either approaching or exceeding 160 miles per hour.
Yeah, I think the BOP for the BMW is a bit more where it should have been this season for this event, so they're showcasing that they can have a car that can compete for wins once again. I mean, it's always tough when you're looking at BOP with a brand new race car this season. The series do a fine job of equalizing all of the manufacturers, keeping everyone in the mix, being able to have potential for a victory. Franco here has gotten around Kurtz. Now he's going to start to put the pressure on Charlie Luck. This is going to be interesting to see if Charlie now gets defensive. And if he does that, that's going to compromise his ability to chase after Weatherall for the class win. So always an interesting dynamic with the class overlap here in the races.
If you were Jan Halen on the radio to Charlie, how would you tell him to play this?
I think if he's got the pace, just keep focus forward. I mean, you don't want to suddenly let these 2 guys by and hope that they catch Weatherall. You'd like to be in charge of your own destiny here a little bit. But only if Charlie can keep his head together and not lose lap time. I think these next couple of laps will give them the indicator as to what they may need to do in the approach here.
And Weatherall has been turning some good laps the last couple, right around high 203s, low 204s. That's matching the pace from Charlie Luck.
That's what he needs to do.
Exactly, and it's about to get tougher for Charlie here with these pro cars breathing down his neck. Weatherall has been cool as a cucumber out in front of the Pro-Am class after inheriting that lead.
Kurtz has dropped back a little bit suddenly, so maybe he's lost the balance in his race car a little bit.
That's a good point. Let's compare his pace, though, to Chandler Hull, his closest pursuer. And Hull does have the advantage, a sizable one, in fact. Kurtz on the last lap, a 205.6. Hull, a 203.4.
Hull is definitely coming, but there's podium potential here. At this rate, he should catch Kurtz, but here we go. Misha Goldberg, big run out of 17, gets to the inside on Manny Franco. He's going to have to let him go. Let's give each other a little bit of racing room here, guys.
Yeah, I think Franco tried his patented move, and the door got shut on him there in 17. Look at that, fighting back around the outside, and he holds off a former 24 Hours of Daytona class winner, Goldberg.
Super impressive. I was worried that Misha was going to move over on Manny, thinking that it cleared him on the approach to turn 1. He was heads up enough to do it, and Manny was brave enough to whistle it around the outside there.
Here he comes again. The Canadian Goldberg. Franco looking really defensive.
He's looking calm. There's no panic in his driving. Just really poised.
Can he keep that poise for another 20 minutes? That is the question.
Well, we know he's struggling a little bit physically after a big incident that he had this summer. Driving a car, I think it was Sonoma, Amanda told me, and bounced back, got a win recently, so he's back up on the horse and performing at a high level. But this is a bumpy racetrack, but the adrenaline kicks in too when you're in a racing situation like this. Typically, you're not focused on it.
Yeah, I think it was VIR maybe where that incident occurred, but he saw him out of the cockpit for a little while as a consequence. Amanda has chronicled the fact he was back in Ferrari Challenge recently, got a win over there, and has buoyed the confidence. Good couple days of testing in this car in preparation for his GT3 debut. He has been up for the challenge. 19.5 minutes to go. Beretta still with a sizable advantage. Wetherell turning the kind of laps he needs to maintain his lead in the Pro-Am class. These two dueling for second and third in Pro. Franco and Goikberg. The fight will continue down the front straightaway one more time. Time running out on this, the final 90-minute race, the traditional race format for Fanatec GT here this season. The Indianapolis 8-hour coming up October the 8th. A Saturday show into the twilight here this year.
Kurtz has got back into his rhythm, but not far behind him comes Chandler Hull. He's running lap times about 3/4 of a second faster than the group in front. Probably got enough time on the board to catch them. Fight for that podium run. There's the Racer's Edge machine, many laps down after the braking issues on the formation lap. For Mario Farnbacher, the championship leaders in Pro-Am, not the day they were even dreaming of having in terms of any sort of problems.
And Amanda, what are you hearing from the Racer's Edge camp?
Well, I think if there is a car on property that is happy to see Justin Witherell in first place in that Pro-Am category is the 93 Acura. There are 7 points up for grab between first and second, and right in second place you have one of their competitors in this championship hunt. I went over and talked to Mario Farnbacher just to get a little review from his side, and kind of speechless from him, and just said, I really just don't have one. You were talking about the Indy 8-hour, and those were kind of words from Mario. He was like, we just can't wait to get there.
Should have a great lineup when they do, adding Christina Nielsen to this lineup, former GT3 champion, North America, tons of experience in big races. Should fit in nicely.
That's a great point that Amanda brings up there. If Wetherell and Dial can take away the big points there, that would minimize the damage. So if Charlie Luck and Jan Halen finish second, that would be 18 points. Ashton Harrison and Murray should pick up 2, so it'd only be a 16-point swing. They came into this round of the championship with an 8-point lead, so still make it very tight heading to Indy.
16-point swing rather than 23 makes a big difference. So watch Franco continue to put pressure on Charlie Luck. Goikberg has fallen back somewhat. And this trio all together, they are starting to close in on Wetherell again. It's down to 3.4 seconds now with 16 minutes to go.
This could get crazy because look at the back of the pack. Chandler Hull is right there now in that mainly white-colored BMW you see in the backdrop.
So much still to be decided in the final minutes here at Sebring. Charlie Luck pressing for all he's worth, trying to catch the class leader, Justin Wetherell. Charlie Luck running second in Pro-Am. Second in Pro, Manny Franco runs right behind him. And then you find Misha Goikberg, who is putting the pressure on Franco. The battle for second and third in the Pro class behind them. George Kurtz and Chandler Hull, who is coming with some pace.
This could be a 6-car battle by the checkered flag here this afternoon. For Wetherell, he needs to be talked to right now. He can't afford to panic right now, seeing those cars looming larger in that rear view mirror and rear view facing camera. Just got to focus forward, hit his marks, stay consistent. You don't want to see that 1 second up and down roller coaster ride in terms of his data. Keep it tight, keep it within 3 or 4 tenths even. That may be enough.
We've seen laps from Justin down in the high 203s, but that last one up in the high 204s, and I think that's what you're talking about there. This would be good news for him, though, if these two start to fight amongst themselves. Franco and Luck. This is how Manny got by George Kurtz. Again, just to the inside of the right rear quarter panel, but not able to pull alongside Charlie. Does that arrest his momentum? I think it does. Keep an eye on Goikhberg in the K-Pax Lamborghini, looking to the outside into turn number 1.
Yeah, I think Manny's got to be careful there. He likes to poke his nose down to the inside there, and is just compromising his exit speed a little bit. When you got someone like Goikhberg so close behind, you got to be careful. Everything is compressing here. Look at Hull. He's nearly caught George Kurtz. That's going to be a battle for the final podium spot in Pro-Am. Wetherell continues to lead that last lap, equal to what Luck and Franco were doing, so no change in terms of the gap there on that previous lap.
And that's what it needs to do. If he can run mid-204s, the gap's big enough. Should be able to nurse it home from there, especially if this starts to break out into a street fight, and that's what it's looking like with each passing lap.
And to Amanda's point about Wetherell potentially taking the big points, they're also going to be cheerleading the Racer's Edge team. Will Chandler Hull, they'd love him to get up there. They were a factor in the championship yesterday, but had a DNF, or did not start really, didn't even see the stripe at the green. So they'd love for that BMW to take away some of the big points from guys like Charlie Luck and George Kurtz.
Hull stayed at 2:03.6. That is the fastest of this group by a pretty wide margin. Impressive when you consider that deep into the stint is when Bill Auberland started to struggle with this car. Now, the second stint isn't quite as long as the first one was, and so that's in Chandler's favor, but typically he's the one that's been using the set of scuffed tires in these races, giving the stickers to his pro teammate Bill Auberland, kind of inverse of what we typically see in the Pro-Am classes. So I'm not sure if that's the case here this weekend, but he might not have the best stuff on that car, and even still he's going fast. So is Franco, who again lunges up the inside of Charlie Luck, looking for a bit of breathing room relative to Goikhberg, and he's able to pull alongside. That Ferrari has been rapid in a straight line this weekend.
We're seeing him whistle it around the outside as well at times here. Charlie's just got his nose too far in front. Hull is really putting the pressure on as Franco really hard on the power early there. Charlie's giving him a little bit of room. That's going to cost him time as he tries to chase down Wetherell. This is great for Wetherell. Here comes Franco to the inside. It's going to be tight, gives it up.
Yeah, ran out of real estate very quickly. That brings Goikhberg into the fray. That brings Kurtz into the fray. And right there, Chandler Hull is there too. That last lap, Wetherell had lost another half a second to Luck, but this is great news for him as these guys scrap behind him. Here comes Goikhberg into the braking zone, working to the outside of Franco for second in the pro class.
I'll tell you what, again, Manny Franco made the right decision. He was forcing it and then just realized it wasn't going to work. Got way out of the power, didn't make it close. Allowed Charlie to just get through the corner unscathed. Great racecraft. Hull is right there, right on the tail of George Kurtz right now. That's the battle for the podium.
Yes, it is. Kurtz holds third. Fourth right now to the Bimmer World car. Great recovery would be for them after the disappointment in qualifying and again in the race yesterday. To bounce back from the back of the grid to a podium, it's very much in the cards.
7 podiums on the year, so as you said, they've been a podium machine. And I really feel without the qualifying issues that they had, they could have been knocking on the door of their first win this year. I think Wetherell's too far down the road, but there's still time on the clock for anything to happen here this afternoon.
Again, this is uncharted territory for Justin Wetherell. They've won a race before, but he's not had to be the closer in this position. He's not had to finish off the deal. That is the scenario here, and he has been solid since taking over this car from Ryan Dial.
That last lap, though, he lost over a second of that gap to Charlie Luck. He can't afford many more laps like that. He's got to knuckle down, focus, hit your marks. It's going to get tougher, though. He's going to get that attention from behind. Totally different dynamic then.
There they are, all in one shot. 6 cars from second down to 7th in the overall running order, all together down the front straightaway at Sebring with just 10.5 minutes to go.
Today's coverage is brought to you by Lamborghini, Lexus, and Mercedes-AMG.
Michele Beretta in firm control over this race, a 32-second lead, but everything behind him is up in the air. On board, Charlie Luck. He has run down Justin Wetherill. That is the class leader just out the windshield.
How does Charlie handle this? Does he try and pounce immediately, or does he take his time? He knows he's going to get the attention from Franco right behind him as well.
Normally, at this stage in the season, everyone knows everyone else. You know their tendencies. The cat amongst the pigeons here is Franco as he's making his season debut here this weekend. An unknown quantity to everyone except for probably Wetherill, who would have seen him in Ferrari Challenge.
Yeah, that's right. Charlie thought about it, looked to the inside there through turn 16. Wetherill is under pressure now, still 9 minutes on the board. It's going to be hard to hang on, I feel. Hull has lost a little bit of time here on this last lap. I thought he's going to be right in the mix there. He's struggling like Bill Aublin did late in his stint as well with that Bimmerwald BMW M4. Luck to the inside, Wetherill hangs on. Watch Manny Franco get a run here as they exit turn 17.
Oh yeah, Franco has that run coming out of the corner, starting to close in on the Porsche, who was balked somewhat on the exit of 17. Franco dodges left, now comes back to the right, carries a ton of speed into the corner.
Here
looking
goes
to make
Charlie
the long
Luck.
way work. Luck, though, he's got momentum of his own, looking to the inside for the class lead in Pro-Am. Charlie Luck to the points.
Wetherill tucks it back in there. Does he try and go on the attack immediately? A bit of a bobble there. Had to lift off the gas, get back to it.
Like Luck had a bobble of his own. Here comes Franco. The door is open to the inside of Wetherill. Does he see him coming? Yes, he does. Now can Goikhberg follow him through as he continues to fight with Franco for second in his class?
Yes, he does. Justin keeps it clean.
It's not done yet. Wetherill and Goikhberg side by side. Wetherill slots back in line. Here comes Hull up the inside. Everything happening late in the running at Sebring. Chandler Hull taking a look at George Kurtz for the final step of the Pro-Am podium. But in the meantime, the lead in the Pro-Am class to Charlie Luck. He forced his way past Wetherill, and let's see how he got the job done.
Coming down the front straightaway. Wetherill a little bit wider entry here. Then he just gets a little bit numb there through the middle of the corner. Can't get back to power. Charlie's alongside him. Then just does a really nice job of just keeping Justin out there. Hits his marks and he's on his way. Justin has to slide it in front of Manny Franco, and then he's feeling the pressure immediately from Franco as they head down to the turn 7 hairpin.
Yeah, Franco felt like he had to go because he's been under pressure from Goikhberg from his entire stint. He was able to get through, but so was the Canadian, and they still run line astern with under 7 minutes to go. And Franco might have a little pace on Charlie Luck, has not been able to clear him despite a couple of bold attempts.
Franco's keeping that car in a podium position in the Pro class as well. Currently second. Goikhberg third in Pro. Beretta well down the road. That gap at the front, 36 seconds plus. That number 1 car has been unbelievably hooked up here this weekend.
Zip code. Well, he started with Andrea Caldarelli behind the wheel, lost a spot at the start to Jordan Pepper in this green car, made it up late in that first stint. A miscue from the Conquest team in the pit lane let K-Pac cycle through to the overall lead, and Beretta has been untroubled since he climbed aboard.
Okay, Charlie Luck, what do you do now? You got the Pro-Am lead, you got 2 Pro class cars behind you. Do you let them go and just try and find a gap behind them and follow them? Maybe what I'd be doing. Franco tucks it to the inside. He grabs that overall track position, still second in Pro. Goikhberg's going to try and follow him through. I think if I was Jan Halen, the Right Motorsports team, I'd say to Charlie, let Goikhberg go, let them settle in, try and hang with them.
At the moment, Goikhberg, that is, was not able to swing through. That has turned Franco loose. And you can see the pace in that Ferrari. That will be frustrating for Goikhberg. You better believe he's going to be aggressive trying to make this move if there is an opportunity to do so.
Big battle now is for second in Pro-Am with Wetherell, Kurtz and Hull. How's that going to shake out before the finish? Wetherell seems like he's got into a nice rhythm once again.
Ale Balzan, co-driver to Manny Franco. He's watching on approvingly. They finished 4th out of 4 cars yesterday in the pro class. Looks like a runner-up finish might be in the cards, and Manny's had to earn it. Ending off former prototype lights champion, class winner at 24 Hours of Daytona, Misha Goikberg. Here comes Goikberg to the inside of Luck. He'll get that move made.
Okay, what the White Motorsports team now needs is for Misha Goikberg just to get the hammer down, run some good clean laps here, allow Charlie to keep going. Hull has got around Kurtz there for 3rd in Pro-Am.
Has championship implications. The Bimmer World guys more or less out of it at this point, but that's going to cost Kurtz points. Kurtz and Brown, who came in very much in that conversation, not just missing out on the podium, but the points that go along with the 3rd place finish. And now, yeah, Hull knows he's got a shot to get up to 2nd. Probably a win, well, you don't know. BMW's had good pace, but not much time to work with here for Chandler Hull.
No, time is running out. Wetherell certainly stepped up now. He's found a good rhythm once again. Strong run for him. It's a big ask with his experience coming off a great weekend at Road to America. That's got to sap your confidence a little bit, but he seems like he's got the personality to just brush it off and move forward. All part of the learning curve.
Seated BMW closing in, under braking. Very stout new BMW M4 GT3 package. Bill Oberlin saying yesterday across 2 championships, the DNF yesterday is the first time he has failed to finish a lap this season with this new car.
Franco now out ahead of this pack, running down laps in the low 203 range, so he had the pace there. He just had to figure out a way through that puzzle and maze of cars in front of him.
Looks like it will be this upcoming lap and one more. And that's where this matters here, as Hull did make the pass. He got by Wetherell. So Chandler Hull now runs 2nd, and he sets off in pursuit of Charlie Luck. He'll have 2 laps to run him down.
Anything's possible here. Now the pressure is on Charlie once again to hit his marks, stay consistent. He's got the pace in the race car. Just don't make the mistake and open up the door for Chandler Hull to grab their first win of the year.
How hungry is Chandler Hull? How much risk is he willing to take here, especially when he doesn't really need to think points at this stage? That DNF yesterday was crippling to their championship hopes, so he can just go all out in pursuit of this win now.
He's going to go in full send mode if he gets close enough. Right now he can't think about sending it. He's too far back, but if he can close in with half a lap to go, so we're about a lap and a half from the finish here. Doesn't have a ton of time to work with. But again, that pressure mounts when you're someone like Charlie Luck trying to hang on to this win here today. Hang on to the championship lead. Maximize that championship lead.
Coming to take the white flag, Michele Beretta. And Andrea Caldarelli in position here to clinch the Drivers' Championship for the 2nd straight year for Andrea Caldarelli, who stands alone at the top of the standings, having had a couple of different co-drivers as Frank Gannett has gone off. Coming onto the Ullman straight, who does that happen in front of? How about Franco coming through? Goikberg and Luck coming through, and that car appears to be slowing. This is how it happened. Oh, David Askew took a big lunge. Did Frank see him coming? Was there contact? I think there was.
It was. You can see the front dive plane is flipped up there on the Mercedes. Little brush there right at the pivotal moment. You're turning through the corner.
In front of this group of cars too. 1 lap to go. Manny Franco takes the white flag. Big gap back to Misha Goikberg. Charlie Luck runs 2nd, but Chandler Hull is closing in.
Yeah, he gained about 4/10 of a second on that lap, and he sits 8/10 back. He's Got the pace, but time is running out for Chandler Hull here. He'd love to have another 5 minutes to work with, but he doesn't have it as the time has run out. He's on his final lap.
But it only takes one lapse in concentration, one slip up, and the conversation can change. George Kurtz also has a position he could potentially gain. He could get back up on that podium. He has caught Wetherill here on this final lap, so that's another one to watch. Third and fourth in Pro-Am coming down to the final lap.
That'd be a heartbreaker for Wetherill and the Triazzi team if they should lose that podium. These guys got to dig deep here on this final lap. Charlie Luck, he's won a ton of races. He won that GT America Championship last year. I know it's at a different level, but that gives you the confidence to bring it home, I feel.
And George Kurtz, he's won the GT America Championship this year. As of this morning, he's got the confidence too. No lack of confidence for K-Pax Racing. Michele Beretta will seal the deal. A sweep of the weekend for the #1 car and a championship for the second straight year for Andrea Caldarelli. The Italian is king of Fanatec GT World Challenge America powered by AWS one more time.
Turn 16, one straightaway, one corner to go. Can Wetherill hang on to that podium run here? It's been a great day for the team. He's done a tremendous job. That'd be just reward. Looks like Charlie Luck up ahead. It just has enough of a gap over Chandler Hull to pull off the win in Pro-Am.
And it's all happening behind Franco and Goikberg, who are set to cross the line second and third in Pro. Wright Motorsports needed a big result for the championship. They got one. Charlie Luck, Jan Halen, and Wright win the Pro-Am class. Chandler Hull comes home in second for the back of the grid, and Justin Wetherill holds off George Kurtz to complete the podium for Triarsi Competizione. Speaking of Triarsi, Charlie Scardina piloting this Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo and running 9th overall. Unopposed here in the AM class this weekend, but another solid day. Nice and strong with their pace. No miscues that we saw. They'll wrap up another class win inside the overall top 10 in 2022. Big days all around. Manny Franco, a fourth and a second. Second, certainly an impressive one in his GT3 debut. And you could see the celebration at Conquest. That looks like almost a race win celebration, but for a team to debut the way that they did this weekend, an overall pole, a second place run against a pretty stout field. Remarkable stuff.
Looking at the points unofficially, I think that the Wright Motorsports Group will have a 14-point lead over the CrowdStrike entry, 15-point lead over the Racers Edge entry. Let's not forget double points. Double points, so it's going to be a 14-point delta between first and second at Indy.
Yeah, a lot to play for and possibly a few wild card entries too, but they won't be eligible for North American points if they haven't run to this point in the season. Nevertheless, CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race to Andrea Caldarelli, set back in the first stint, a blistering 2-minute .812 second lap. He got it started, and Michele Beretta finished the deal. K-Pax Racing once again reigns supreme. Big day for Charlie Luck, and I have to believe to some extent for him, it's exercising some demons. They had a chance to win yesterday. He had a rather innocuous spin, it must be said, but it cost them dearly in terms of track position, and Jan Halen almost overcame it, but couldn't quite do so. So for Charlie to hop back in the car, put that behind him, and deliver that performance to run down the class leader and get the job done in trying circumstances, that's got to be a great elixir for him.
Yeah, very satisfying. It was a great run, just really very poised. Under immense pressure, had to deal with pressure from behind for many laps and brought it home. And it's a huge day for the Wright Motorsports Group. Really puts them in great position heading to Indianapolis for that 10-hour event.
Provisional results, Caldarelli Beretta by 41 seconds over Manny Franco and Alessandro Balzan. Goikberg and Pepper The sister K-Pax car come home third, and with that, Pepper is eliminated from the championship, as is Beretta, by virtue of the fact there's no way to break the tie with Caldarelli, even though the gap is 50 points. Even if Caldarelli should miss Indy for some unforeseen reason, no way for Beretta to break the tie. So Caldarelli is your class champion in the Pro Class in 2022. Jan Halen and Charlie Luck reclaim the points lead with that win, fending off a charging Bimmerworld team that had to come from the back. If they had been able to qualify this weekend, you have to wonder what might have been.
Yeah, very much so. Could have been in the championship picture going to Indy with a strong weekend like they potentially had.
Another podium, still looking for their first race win of the year. If they're going to do it, it'll have to come in an 8-hour enduro. Dial and Wetherill, great job by them. Dial started on the outside of the front row and was able to keep that car up front. Wetherill led for a good portion of the race, only headed in the final 10 minutes. Kurtz and Brown, Sellers and Smithson behind to complete the Pro-Am top 5. Scardina and the Am-Class car 9th overall, ahead of Burton, Askew, Gannett, and then a tough day for Racer's Edge. It started even before the drop of the green. A mechanical issue set them 3 laps down. No attrition in the race today. They finish 9th in the Pro-Am class. Victory Lane, always a happy place, but especially so at a place with the kind of history that Sebring International Raceway can boast. A win here is special indeed, and soon we'll be hearing from not just race winners, but in the case of Andrea Caldarelli, a champion for the 2nd consecutive year in Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. Down to Victory Circle now, where we find Amanda Busick.
In between the guys that have won the race here today. And Andre, I'm going to start with you because it was a championship day for you as well. I was told by K-Pax this is your 17th win for them in 2 seasons. You are the winningest driver with that team of all time. Why are you and Lamborghini so synonymous?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'm really happy for the team and yeah, for all the guys at the workshop and in Santa Agata. Another great championship to put in the book of all the guys back in Italy. I think it's just, you know, it's a lot of hard work, and the car, you can see, like, even if we had some weekend off, at the end of the day we work hard, and in the last 2 race weekend, and we came here with just 1 target, and that's the result. So I don't know the answer on that question, but I'm really happy that you know, Italian manufacturer, Italian drivers, it's cannot be better than this.
Well, Michele, you were the closer to get your teammate a 2nd championship. How important was your job today?
Yeah, honestly, it looked easy from the outside, but when you're in, you're trying to push and squeeze everything from the car. I think we had a perfect weekend. I think I have to thanks again everybody involved, the K-Pax crew, who work really hard during the nights, also in the last few days, and at home in Sant'Agata, or the Lamborghini crew. So we couldn't make it without them. So thanks, everybody.
It'll be a big celebration tonight, and there to help celebrate the championship for Andrea Caldarelli, his wife, face familiar to many of you who have followed GT World Challenge Europe over the years, Dakota Jane, who served as a pit reporter for quite some time. She's on site here this weekend in Florida, where she actually went to college, I believe, at the University of Florida there in Gainesville. So a big weekend all around. Let's go back down to Amanda.
Well, talking to Charlie, like he just said off camera, he's like, I haven't talked to you in a while. And watching that drive from you after the miscue yesterday, Charlie, was this one of your most impressive drives of your career?
Oh my gosh, we had to get redemption for yesterday. Jan drove his tail off and took us 9 seconds deficit up to 3rd, and geez. So today I sat in the car, and I think we were P1 or P2, and I said, this is everything you got, buddy. Everything you got right now. So it was spot on. We were magical today. Magical.
Well done.
Thanks.
The exertion played on his face, but he drove a great stint to snap a streak of 4 races without a win in this class. It's not a terribly long drought, but this is a team that swept the first weekend at Sonoma and had aspirations of winning a ton of races here this year. Back down to Amanda.
Oh, I didn't hear anything. with our AM winners. And guys, when you think of the growth that you have had since last season, you came and debuted here, got a win here, had an accident here as well. What's been the growth between you guys all this past year?
Well, from this year to last year, 2 seconds. So it's been a lot to learn really the aero in the car. They're so different from what I'm used to or been used to. So the last year's been helpful in just getting experience with that.
It's been a great year. You know, it's been tough, but we've been pushing through it, and the goal has been just to keep trying to keep up with the Pro-Am guys, and we're working towards that. So,
thank you.
Great year for those two. Can't wait to see what the future holds.
Today's coverage is brought to you by Porsche, Optima Batteries, and Skip Barber Racing School.
Puts a bow on the traditional portion of the Fanatec GT schedule here for 2022, Calvin, a season that started back in the spring at Sonoma Raceway in Northern California. All the traditional 90-minute races are done. Just one race remains, and it's a big one. The Indianapolis 8-hour, not just the finale for Fanatec GT here in the States, but also part of Intercontinental GT Challenge powered by Pirelli. Those races mean so much for these manufacturers, just that little bit of extra pressure on all the teams that will be scoring points for their manufacturers in 2 weeks.
Yeah, super pivotal in our championship. Certainly the Pro Class and the AM Class is settled, but that Pro-Am one is very much up. There's 3 or 4 teams still in with a shout there, so have to wait and see. Double points on hand, so there can be some big swings dependent on your day. For the Racer's Edge, they need to rebound. They have to go to Indy. They have to win, grab the big points, and hopefully things will settle out behind them to be in with a shout at that championship. As you said, it's a big day for the manufacturers as well. They want that win at Indianapolis.
It is a special place anytime you're racing there. Of course, most famous for the Oval, which is more or less unchanged since 1909. But that road course, you think about what it's hosted there over the years. Formula One, MotoGP, now Indy cars, sports cars in the past. But when the Indy 8-hour came, it was the first long-distance endurance race in the long history of that facility, over 100 years of history. And so to do something more or less unprecedented, as we're about to do this year, racing into the twilight, that's something unique and something everyone involved is going to be thrilled to be a part of.
It's going to be cool, and I understand the infield is pretty dark. I think the big screens there kind of illuminate it a little bit, so that's going to be really special, and you have the pagoda lit up there late in the day, so it's going to be a fun finish for sure to the championship season.
A chance to win at a venue made famous by Ray Haroon, winner of the first Indianapolis 500. And then you think about A.J. Foyt and Mario Andretti. And then you get into the Formula One era and NASCAR with Jeff Gordon and Michael Schumacher and Jimmy Johnson. All these huge names that have had success there over the years. To add your name to that legacy, what a huge incentive.
Yeah, to go on that lift they now have to celebrate the winner will be a special moment, not only for the 8-hour winners, but for all our classes that complete their championships there as well.
It's not an easy thing to do just to make the grid for a race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and that's what lies in store. October 8th, a Saturday show. If you're in the Midwest or you can get yourself to Indianapolis, we hope you do so. It's a full week festival of sports car racing at IMS, the corner of 16th and Georgetown, but still plenty to wrap up from another classic venue here in Sebring. Podium celebrations starting here at Sebring International Raceway, but now we look back on race 2 of the weekend with race highlights. It was Alessandro Balzan in the debuting Conquest Racing Ferrari that led the field to green. Big scrap deep in the pack. One of the stories, though, was the fact that Racer's Edge failed to make the start. They dropped 3 laps right at the beginning with a mechanical issue. Big battle here between the K-Pax teammates. Pepper, for the moment, came out on top. This is a look at that Racer's Edge car. Strife early in the going, a braking issue of some description. There was a penalty handed down for this one.
There on Triazzi. Makes the Milva get a penalty call on that one. Bold move down to the inside here for Jan Halen. Sellers it at a tremendous opening stint, and his car starts to fade a little bit late in the going.
That helped to set the table for what was a strong charge from Wright Motorsports later in the race. You saw right here Colin Brown able to follow Jan Heylen through. Battles after the pit stops and the driver changes. This is for second in the Pro Class. Goikberg had it, but Franco took it right back.
He was not to be intimidated here on his debut weekend. Manny Franco, a brilliant performance. Then Jan Heylen slices to the inside on Justin Weatherall. That is a pass for the lead in Pro-Am that he'd hold to the checkered flag here this afternoon.
Heylen and Luck did hang on for that win. This was late contact. David Askew, Frank Gannett. It did not affect the ultimate outcome, though, as K-Pax Racing came around to score yet another victory. Michele Beretta, but also Andrea Caldarelli, who in addition to the win, is your 2022 champion. That's it for us from Sebring. Thanks so much for joining us. So long for now. Podium celebrations continuing at Sebring International Raceway. The Pro-Am and Am top three all recognized together. There's still up there, Bill Oberlin, Chandler Hall. I think if you had told him all you're going to get from this weekend is a second at the beginning of the weekend, they wouldn't have loved the sound of that. But given everything they went through, not a bad recovery.
No, great recovery. I mean, I think if Bill hadn't lost the balance later in the stint, maybe a win was on the cards here today, even from the back of the pack. So they'll be somewhat frustrated, but I think they're loving life in terms of that BMW now being truly competitive. They can fight for a win at Indianapolis.
Without a doubt, and told the story earlier, Chandler Hall, 100 pro starts now, all in BMWs. 36 of those came last year alone. We've talked about him being busy. I never knew the raw number on just how many races he ran across multiple championships last year. He said he was flying back and forth from the U.S. to Europe, Middle East as well, running Asian Le Mans. Last year, he said he took 50-plus COVID tests in all of his travels. In fact, he said he stopped counting at 50, so he knows it was more than that. It could have been way more than that. And we had a joke about different countries are a bit more vigorous with their COVID tests, so we kind of swapped some notes on that. Yeah, look, he said it was a great experience. I loved it. Great, you know, I gained a lot of experience in doing it, but don't need to do that again.
No, my nose hurts just thinking about it.
Exactly, but did a great job here in his stint to get up onto the podium for the Bimmer World team. How about the Pro Class podium? On the right-hand side, Jordan Pepper, he gave it a great run in his stint. Goikberg put a ton of pressure on Franco, trying to take second away, but Manny Franco over there on the left, getting the congratulations from Caldarelli and Beretta. He earned that runner-up.
That was a great drive, great weekend. Alessandro Balzan, three-time GT3 champ here on North American soil, just showcasing he has still got it. Tremendous pace here this weekend. The number one team, they were back in their sweet spot. I think this is the most dominant they've been all season long.
Yeah.
And I think this will end a little bit of frustration they've had here for the last couple of months trying to sort that car out.
On one hand, yes, but on the other, I'm not sure, based on our conversations with them, that they totally know why the problems that they were having the last few rounds went away. And on one, yeah, certainly it's good. Glad that we're not having those problems, but you'd like to know what the fix was.
Car seems to be a bit of a diva, doesn't it? It's,
it does.
There's days where it doesn't want to cooperate.
Well, the diva deserved the spotlight this weekend. Number one car carrying Caldarelli and Beretta to not just 2 race wins, but again, another championship for Andrea, who will enjoy this. Longtime teammate there, Jordan Pepper. He was threatening to pour the champagne down the fire suit. Those two built a really strong bond last year, and I know it pains them not to get to share the car again this year, but doing their best to make the most of the situation.
It's got to be bizarre, right? When you're so close to someone and then you're fighting against them. It's like having a girlfriend and you're broken up, but you still go out to dinner with them with a different partner. It's kind of bizarre.
Sounds unpleasant.
Yes.
Caldarelli.
You've obviously never been down that road.
No. Nice hard break. That's the way to do it. Caldarelli, though, celebrating also CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race here once again. So a successful weekend at Sebring. Cal, your thoughts as we turn our attention to Indianapolis?
Well, it's such a challenging circuit. We saw some heartbreak here over the course of the weekend in all of our championship battles. And for the Racers Edge group, I mean, they just got a rebound from a very difficult day. They got a fast race car. Mario Farnbacher, Ashton Harrison going to be joined by Christina Nielsen at Indy. They've got to win. They've got to win.
Simple as that. So much still to be determined, and it's an 8-hour race. That's the window in which everything will be decided. The Indianapolis 8-hour coming up October the 8th. Hope you join us there. For our entire team, for Kyle and Amanda, my name is Ryan Marine. So long from Sebring International Raceway. It was a pleasure to have you along for the ride. Just one more weekend to go at Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS.